All right, good afternoon, Temple City. Thank you for tuning in live. This is our first ever Facebook Live session with Ask the Mayor. My name is William Mann, and I'm the current mayor of Temple City. And first of all, I just want to thank everyone who took the time out of their busy days to submit questions over the last week or so on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, all these other platforms that the city currently has. And our goal today is to try to get through as many of those questions as possible. As you know, this is our first ever, so it's kind of like a pilot program. Staff has done a wonderful job of helping prepare and get everyone's questions in to me. And we've been working diligently to try to figure out how to get to your questions. And one of the first questions that you may have is, well, why are we doing this? Why is the city doing a Facebook Live session? And the answer is actually quite simple. In this day and age, more and more of us are getting our information, our news, a lot of things from the internet, from our mobile devices, from our tablets, from our computers. And we've seen a decline in print media over the years, such as newspapers and magazines. And many of us also use a lot of different social media platforms like Facebook, like Twitter, like Instagram. And so why not try to bring that information to you in a media form that you can easily access, that you use on a daily basis? And so this is our attempt to try to cast a wider net, try to get more people engaged, and give you factual, up-to-date, and current information about what's really happening in Temple City, what are some of the highlights, important information, important developments. And a big part is to try to get more input from you, from the residents, from the business community, so that you can help us make better informed decisions about the long-term plans that we have in Temple City. So for this current session, we're going to keep it relatively simple and straightforward. We have a lot of questions, and we will try to dive right into them. Just before we get into the questions, I do want to mention that our city has recently done a revamp of our strategic plan. And within our old strategic plan as well as the new one of the main priorities that we have is community engagement, citizen education. And we hope that this is one of the first steps that we as a city can take to really advance that. And so even though this session is kind of like me answering a lot of your questions, we do want to hear from you how we can improve. Is this something that is helpful for you? Can we do this format a little differently, a little bit better? So please keep the comments coming. We really value your feedback. So why don't we dive right in? One of the first questions is centered around public safety and traffic safety and traffic circulation in the city. The first question is from Bum-Soo Kim. The question asks, when can we get more street lights in our residential streets? I live by Rosemead Park, and all the residential streets around it are pitch dark at night. And there has been an increasing number of home break-ins in our neighborhoods. And also, what can we do to increase our police patrols near our neighborhood? And Bum-Soo Kim also says, I've never seen police patrols near my area, and it would be nice to know that we are being proactive instead of reactive. Now, this is a fact. Many Temple City streets do not have street lights. And we do receive many requests for street lights to be installed on an annual basis. And unfortunately, one of the hard things that we have to face as a city is that we do have limited funds to build new street lights, and we are not able to fulfill every request. There is a form on the city website, if you go to www.templecity.us, where you can register your request for a street light, so we have an inventory of all the different requests that are coming in. Now, the specific area that Bum-Soo Kim is referring to, I have actually asked staff to go ahead and evaluate that corridor. I believe it's the corridor along Encinita Avenue. And so we can certainly look into what we can do to improve the lighting along that corridor. Now, regarding increased patrols, that is a very common question that we get time and time and again, especially if you have been paying attention recently there's been a spike in residential burglaries and other property-related crimes, not just in Temple City, but in the San Gabriel Valley region as a whole. We've seen that go up, and we've talked to law enforcement in our respective neighboring agencies like Arcadia, San Gabriel, Alhambra, Monrovia, and also, of course, our deputies and our law enforcement partners from the LA County Sheriff's Department is very well aware of this trend. And so you may be asking, well, what is the city doing to address this specific issue? In the past year, the City Council has actually allocated $70,000 additional monies on top of what we normally allocate for the Sheriff's Department for what we call saturation patrols. And working collaboratively with our LA County Sheriff's deputies, we have kind of used this pool of money strategically to target areas that may be harder hit and trying to time these saturation patrols during times of the year where we know we see an uptick in residential burglaries, such as the holiday seasons and during Thanksgiving, during Christmas, and we've been doing that the entire past year. And we've actually seen some results. Just in the first quarter of this year, between January and March of 2018, if we compare it to January and March of last year, we've already seen a 65% decrease in residential burglaries. We have also seen a 37% decrease in vehicle burglaries. So we hope that we will continue to work with the Sheriff's Department to try to think of other creative ways to address this issue. We really want to approach public safety from many different angles and not just throw a lot of money at the situation, at the problem. And some of you may have heard about our next door rebate program that was in high demand, and we had given out all those rebate codes. That's something that has received a lot of positive feedback. We've gotten a lot of positive news coverage about that. And actually in this upcoming fiscal year, that may be one of the items that the council may be discussing to perhaps looking into continue that program or looking at other programs that have worked in other cities and agencies. And so public safety is unanimously on the council one of the #1 priorities that we have. And so we understand your concerns and we are working actively to address them. Now, related to public safety is also the issue of traffic safety. And the next question is from Pat Jacobs. The question is, what measures are being undertaken to reduce the number of drivers failing to signal turns, blow through stop signs, and text while driving? An excellent question. And our public safety contract with LA County Sheriff's Station requires that its patrol deputies and special assignment teams proactively enforce traffic violations throughout the entire city. And we do review all the complaints that we receive from the public regarding traffic violations and so-called hotspots in the area. Now, on this note, I would actually highly encourage residents to do their best to attend our monthly public safety meetings that we have with our Sheriff's Department's deputies and representatives. And that meeting happens at the last Wednesday of every month at 7 a.m. in the community room here, right next to City Hall. We've been getting a lot more people attending and getting a lot of great feedback. And during those meetings, and those meeting notes and PowerPoint presentations are available to the public, you can see that we've actually targeted specific areas. For example, we've gotten complaints that people going westbound on Las Tunas are running red lights on Golden West and other traffic signals. And so our sheriff's deputies are actually proactively looking at those specific intersections. And now we know we can't catch everyone, but we do understand and know that there are prevailing issues along those corridors. And we are working with our county sheriff's department to address as many of those as we can. Another interesting question is, when will the speed limit for Las Tunas be increased to 40 miles an hour? That's from Chris Berrigan. Currently, there are no plans to increase the speed limit. Kind of the irony of this question is that we've actually gotten a lot of people complaining about speeding on Las Tunas, which was related to the previous question that was being asked. Now, we recently had completed a traffic and engineering survey to review Las Tunas speed limit, and it was certified this February 5th. And a copy of that report, if you're interested, can be obtained at City Hall. And based on those findings, our traffic engineer has recommended that the posted speed limit remain at 30 miles an hour. Now, the next question, let's move on to issues of economic vitality, which is a question that we've been discussing for many years now and is at the top of many people's concerns. The first question comes from John Kuo, and the question is, please redevelop Main Street, in quotes, like they did in Alhambra, and bring different types of businesses. And so I believe Mr. Kuo is specifically referring to the downtown corridor along Las Tunas, our so-called Main Street traditional downtown. Now, it's a very interesting question. So we kind of have to look at it in the context of Alhambra and the transformation that they have gone through over the last several decades. Today's Alhambra Main Street was the result of a 30-year process that was completed in conjunction with large property owners under the legal and financial provisions of the state's former redevelopment law, which actually no longer exists today. Now, back in the early 2000s, Temple City, we as the city, has actually tried to designate Las Tunas as a redevelopment project area, which would have resulted in a number of incentives for private investment and new development. Unfortunately, at that time, the community rejected that proposal, and so it never went through. We again attempted to designate Las Tunas as a redevelopment project area in 2011. Unfortunately, that effort fell to the wayside because in 2012, that's when the state of California revoked the powers of the redevelopment and eliminated it statewide via the California state legislature. So we no longer have the powers to do what Alhambra did back almost 20 to 30 years ago. So in the case for Temple City, we unfortunately no longer have the opportunity to utilize these legal and financial tools that were previously available. And it's actually a challenge that is prevalent not just in Temple City, but it is a struggle in many of our neighboring cities as well, who are trying to do the same thing and revitalize key corridors of their downtown, of their commercial and business districts. However, that doesn't mean that there is no hope. In fact, one of the many items that we are looking forward to is the council will later this year be continuing its discussion on revitalizing Las Tunas. And all of this is a result of the discussions from the previous years. And now we are looking specifically at perhaps aesthetic enhancements or other improvements along the corridor that can kind of maybe update our downtown from its current look and feel. And that's kind of related to one of the common questions that we get is, why is it taking so long for us to improve Las Tunas aesthetically? And it's a result of a multi-year process where we get community feedback, we bring staff in to evaluate and look at different options and concerns, and we try to formulate a plan that has broad community support. And so that's really the next step is we don't really want to make dramatic changes to the downtown until we've gone through the right process. And that process involves you. So thank you for asking that question. I hope that you will continue paying attention to the ongoing discussions with Las Tunas, because we will eventually be having that, and we want your feedback. Kind of related to this topic, a question from Mona Lisa Rodriguez. When will Las Tunas become a place to shop? All these bridal shops are not what they appear to be. Please get rid of them and bring in some legit businesses to help the city's economy. And I kind of want to lump the answer in with this other next question from Bruce Hildreth. Is Temple City ever going to be like it was during the 50s, 60s, and 70s, when it was a blue-collar city with a great mixture of businesses? The outward look of the city business areas need to be improved, and there should be more variety in the type of businesses. These are really great questions, and are questions that we've actually gotten a lot over the years. And there is no doubt about it, the retail landscape is changing. This is not a phenomenon that's local to Temple City. This is a regional, if not nationwide phenomenon. Retailers nationally are actually cutting a lot of their store counts, as you've probably noticed in the news. And a lot of these large stores, these large block brick and mortar stores, and even retailers like Macy's, Best Buy, Walmart, they are moving their inventory to e-commerce, to online sales, and changing their business models to meet that demand. In fact, there was a crazy statistic that I got from a recent conference saying that there was a large percentage of purchases nationally that are made through Amazon. More and more people have Amazon Prime memberships than they do have Costco memberships. And to illustrate this point, if you take a walk around Old Town Pasadena or even the Westfield Santa Anita Mall in Arcadia, what you will see is a recurring theme that is seen throughout the San Gabriel Valley. Retail storefronts are gradually being replaced by restaurants, little by little. And economists are kind of dubbing this as the new retail, this new age of commerce coming, so to speak. And if you think about it, it does actually make kind of sense. The one thing that Amazon cannot sell to you is a eating experience where you go to a restaurant, you feel the ambience of the restaurant, you get good service, you get good gourmet food that's prepared fresh and prepared for you. That's not something that Amazon can do. Although, if you look at some of their developments, they are trying to do that. And so, we're fortunate that along the Las Tunas corridor, we are seeing a large number of restaurants popping up, and these restaurants are attracting a lot of people, especially our younger crowd. The younger generation in Temple City is coming out. They are the most common patrons of these restaurants. And in fact, these new eateries have become what you would call regional foodie draws, right? You have people who want to do video blogging. They want to they have blogs and write articles, independent articles about, they have Yelp reviews critiquing restaurants here and there. And a lot of these foodies are actually profiled in some high-profile magazines or newspapers or online blogs such as the Los Angeles Times, the Eater LA, Chowhound, LAist, many others. And these new restaurants are quickly putting Temple City on the map as a destination location for people to come and try new and exciting foods. And you can see a number of these restaurants that are doing very well, such as Golden Deli, Northern Cafe, Bay Garden, Xiangyuan. A number of these restaurants are brand new, and if you go in, I would encourage you to go in and try them. They've done a great job at renovating and remodeling and updating the look of the storefronts, not just on the inside, but on the outside. And what we hope to see a gradual trend of these stores that will kind of revitalize the Las Tunas corridor. And regarding the comment about a lot of bridal stores along Las Tunas, there's an interesting statistic that we like to share with everyone, is there is actually only one bridal shop on Las Tunas right now and 5 wedding photography studios along the corridor. So as you can see, while there may be general trends that are of the past, we in Temple City are preparing for the future, and there are certain trends that are inescapable. And so we want to do our best to prepare ourselves for these trends and try to be proactive in the way we plan our downtown and not be reactive to that. So there's more to come regarding that specific topic. Now, on maybe one final note on that topic, local government can provide what we would call zoning regulations to attract businesses to an area, and you really could see that in our most recent update to our general plan, which really governs how we zone the entire city, how we plan for land use in the future. And the last time we had done a general plan update was back in the 1980s. So this recent update that we just completed, along with a specific plan on Las Tunas and Rosemead Boulevard, is a much needed update to our zoning requirements and land use laws that kind of propels us towards the future and allows businesses and other investments to really understand what we as Temple City as a community want for our future. So please take a look at the updated general plan if you haven't had a chance. We have a great website with an interactive map and tool that you can kind of click around and really understand sort of the thinking behind why certain areas were zoned differently here and there. So now moving on to next set of questions that has a lot to do with the facilities, buildings, and public buildings that we have in Temple City and what we are doing to either improve them, build new ones, etc. This next question comes from M.A. Kid on Instagram. Mayor Man, with our parks so heavily used, has the city looked into expanding our parks, which have not grown in size in decades, or perhaps adding micro parks in new locations in the city? This is an excellent, excellent question. Now, first of all, let's kind of set the backdrop of this discussion. The first thing that we cannot avoid, and is a fact, is that Temple City is considered a park-poor area. We have less than half an acre of park space per 1,000 residents. The county average is 3 acres per 1,000 residents. And the state average is actually 10 acres per 1,000 residents. One of the challenges that we have in Temple City is that we are a built-out city. Try to name one location in Temple City where we have a large piece of open property that we can somehow acquire and redevelop into a large park the same size as Live Oak Park. The answer is there currently is none. So in a way, we have to try to reimagine what our definition of parks and open space really means. And that concept has evolved in the recent decades. The city does have a parks and open space master plan that was completed several years ago. And that master plan outlines several action steps that the city can take in the future to enhance our 2 existing parks at Live Oak Park and Temple City Park, right outside here in City Hall. One of the things that we've tried to look into is try to collaborate with private schools and churches to discuss possible community use for their property for recreational activities. As you know, our parks and recreation programs are highly popular and heavily used by our communities. And one of the things we lack related to space is things like indoor basketball courts. And so there's always a competing use for a limited amount of spaces. You have people who think we want more tennis courts, we want more basketball courts, we want more baseball fields, we want more areas for soccer. There are a lot of things that all of our residents really, really want, but we have a very limited space to do that. So there are ongoing discussions with these many potential community partners. So for example, we currently have agreements in place with the First Lutheran School and the Emmanuel Church for recreation programs. And we are in discussions with another local church for use of their facilities. And we agree with you. We agree that we want to look at options to increase park and open space. And one of the things kind of related to our previous questions is related to the Las Tunas beautification and enhancement potential. And one of the things that could be an option and has been discussed in the past is the use of parklets along Las Tunas. Now, parklets, albeit being very small, could potentially change or transform the way we view the way that public space is being used along our main corridors. So stay tuned in for that. A lot of the issues that we're talking about have a lot of overlap with each other. We from the city and also on the city council, we need to be able to look at things from a very big picture perspective and be able to identify how we can connect all these disparate ideas that are kind of floating out there and really try to bring them together within the stringent limits of the budget of a small city like ours. Now, also related to facilities is the next question from Sophie Wong. The question is there anything we can do about updating our park playgrounds? And the question goes on to note that there are certain playground equipment that is either rusted or dilapidated or in need of repair. Are there any plans to update? The short answer is yes. we have plans to update as is outlined in our facilities master plan. And our current facility master plan addresses specific needs from our facilities at both parks. The challenge with parks is funding. And right now we are actively pursuing grant funding, which has traditionally been the most common way that not just our city, but also many neighboring cities actively pursue these grants to try to fix, update, and even purchase new equipment and items for our parks. So that is definitely on our radar. And as we go into the budget discussion for the upcoming fiscal year, this may be one of the items that the council will be discussing, is to allocate funding or to identify opportunities to partner with outside agencies or funds to address the specific question that you have. Also, we have two questions related to the library right here outside City Hall. The first question is from Bruce Hildreth. The question is saying that I'm curious that the city is going to renovate and enlarge the library in the future, and the one thing that caught my attention was that there was going to be a large daycare center for children included in the design. The easy answer to that question is there is not going to be a daycare center incorporated into the design. I think what you may be getting at is there's been a lot of talk about improving and enhancing a dedicated children's section of the library. And so the city, in short, has partnered with the County of Los Angeles Library System in a joint effort to completely renovate and also expand the footprint of the current LA County Library here at Temple City. And the effort amounts to roughly $3.9 million worth of work. Now, within that scope, there has been a great push, and we've actually been able to raise a lot of money from donations that is looking at an enhanced, iconic, and decorative entrance into the library's family and children's area. This design concept is under development and will be unveiled to the community later this year. So please keep in touch and stay updated on that issue. There's a lot more to come. We are very excited about that part of the library project, and we have been overwhelmed with the generosity and support that so many residents and community members have shown in supporting and donating to that effort. And just to build on that, the purpose of enhancing the family and children's area is to build upon the existing literacy programs that we have. As we know, children are a key part of our community. They are the future leaders of Temple City. So we see this as a great way of investing our monies into giving back to the community and enhancing the public infrastructure and the programs that really build upon the education needs of our kids. Now, moving on, actually this is one of my favorite questions, is from Lisa Van Bieber Grimaldi on Facebook. When did we vote for a new mayor? So the city charter, which is very similar to a lot of our neighboring cities such as San Gabriel, Arcadia, San Marino, Monterey Park, our city charter allows the city council to annually select amongst ourselves a mayor for a one-year term. And this is usually done in March as part of the annual city council reorganization. Now, so we are unlike larger cities like City of Los Angeles, the City of Pasadena. Those cities have what we call a mayor that is elected at large. And so we're a small city. My current position as mayor, for lack of a better word, is largely ceremonial. I don't have special privileges or executive powers to overrule my fellow council members. All decisions that we're made is made as a body with public discussion and input and is voted on by all 5 members of the city council. And so we get a chance every year to have one of our council members be serving as mayor for Temple City. And the city council, if you didn't know, is elected by you, the residents, every 2 years, and each one of us serve 4-year terms. And another great question is from Kathy Gleason Schoenrock. Why does the city have an email address on their website that nobody responds to? Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I've already talked to staff and they've corrected that issue. So all emails that will be sent, I believe the email you're referring to is info@templecity.us. That email is now working and we have staff that is actively monitoring anything that is coming in through that, and we'll be responding to your emails. Thank you for making us aware of that. And another topic that is particularly an emotional topic for many of us, but is at the forefront of the news, and very much, I think everyone has been talking about this recently, is regarding homelessness. And so we've had some interesting comments on both sides of the fence on this issue from Ski King. I don't think that's a real name, but the comment is, please get the homeless out of Temple City. And another comment from Trang Tiet on Facebook is, please help the homeless. Some of them are in front of Temple City Hall and at the park. What are you doing for them now? This is a very tough question to address. And in fact, I think the best way to talk about this issue is to really acknowledge the fact that homelessness, first of all, is a large-scale regional issue that is not limited to the boundaries of our city. It is unfortunate, but it is a reality that we are facing today. The homeless issue is very much a regional issue. And if you've been keeping track of the news, one of the regional agencies that has been taking a lead in spearheading the charge has been Los Angeles County. And recently, the LA County has actually unveiled a $400 million spending plan, outlining how the monies that are being taken from Measure H will be spent. And Measure H was an initiative that the county had placed on the ballot last year that raised the sales tax a little bit to generate funds to essentially dedicate those monies to helping the homeless initiative in LA County region. And so specifically for our city, we do not have the direct resources to fund direct homeless services. However, we do coordinate, and our staff does work a lot with regional agencies to address the homeless that do reside in our neighborhoods. And one of these agencies is the LA Homeless Service Authority, which is commonly known by its acronym LAHSA, L-A-H-S-A. And recently in the last year, we have seen a larger presence from the LAHSA team members that come out and directly interface and speak with and engage the homeless population that is in the region. And they offer assistance programs, they identify needs, they direct them and offer these services that are available within LA County. And so we continue to do our work with these regional agencies, and we are looking forward to how the LA County plan is going to unfold, and try to figure out how we as a city and our community can fit into that larger piece of the puzzle. So that is a developing issue. It's not something that's going to be solved by one silver bullet, nor will it be solved overnight. It's going to take a collective effort to really sit down and think about what really works for not just us as a city, but what works for us as an entire region in Southern California. Next, we have a question regarding pedestrian safety from Karen Higgins. The question is, sidewalks are much needed for our school children's safety on Lemon Avenue between Temple City Boulevard to Golden West, and also along Golden West between Lemon Avenue to Naomi. And so this is a very good question. The first thing I do want to point out is the alignment of the street from Golden West. Well, let me rephrase that. On Golden West between Lemon to Naomi, that segment of the road is actually part of unincorporated LA County. And so unfortunately, we don't have the jurisdiction to make changes, or we don't have the authority to oversee projects that are in that area. And those issues are best brought up with the LA County Board of Supervisors. It is an issue that we can pass along since we do interface a lot with them. And we understand that our schools are not limited to just our municipal boundaries. They encroach in, or they cover also areas in the unincorporated county area as well as other cities. So thank you for bringing that up. Now, the alignment along Golden West Avenue from Temple City Boulevard to Lemon, the city does own half of that area. And currently, a lot of the sidewalk issue is part of a larger plan that we've been discussing for some time. We call it an unfunded designation because, for lack of a better word, we don't have the money dedicated to directly building a regional sidewalk network for the entire city. However, the way that we've been strategically trying to address that problem is looking at outside grants. And so one example of an outside grant is Safe Routes to School, which was something that we as a city pursued, was able to get, and completed several projects back in 2014, where we've done improvements in and around some of our school areas, such as Clemenson, and I believe also along Oak Avenue and some of our other schools. And so there will be further discussion, especially about these types of what we call capital improvement projects. And one of the recurring themes that you'll probably see in not just today's session, but also a lot of the budget discussion is we need to find the monies to really address these issues. And that is one of the biggest challenges that we face as a city. And that links directly into some of the next questions that relates to the conditions of our streets, street repaving. So there are two questions that I'll kind of address together. The first question is from Tao Zhang. The question is, Golden West between Las Tunas and Lower Azusa needs some serious resurfacing. It's been neglected for too long. Second question is from Diana Young. A lot of streets need resurfacing. When are you able to get to them? We used to repave our streets every 4 to 5 years, but now it seems like we get more tax money but have no money to fix our streets. Every small street between Temple City Boulevard to Baldwin, between Lower Azusa to Las Tunas is in need of repair. And so this is actually one of, personally, my favorite topics, just because my background as a civil engineer, I'm a bit more sensitive to these kind of issues. And that has actually been an issue that we as a council have tried to tackle aggressively over the last 4 to 5 years. Within that last period of time, we've actually repaved over 17 miles of streets in Temple City. And if my memory serves me correctly, that's more streets than we had ever done than in the past decade preceding that. And so we understand that it's an issue. We've been aggressively trying to tackle that. In 2013, the City Council did a pavement management study that put the total cost of repairing our streets at $23 million. That's assuming we fix everything at the same time, $23 million. What that translates to is if we wanted to fix everything and keep the status quo, we need to dump about 3 to 4 million annually just to keep our streets in good condition. Now, the good news is currently the city is actually undergoing a pavement management study update because it's been 5 years. We've done all this work, 17 miles of repaved roads, and we want to kind of know where we are right now. You know, we've done a lot of work that I would call the low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff, the preservation, the rehab work. But now the hard part comes in, is how do we address the streets that were mentioned by Tao Zhang and Diana Young? These are the streets that are going to cost a lot more money to redo. And for the current for the next fiscal year, City Council will be in discussion about allocating approximately $1.8 million to fix our roads in the next year. And some of these monies come from outside sources, such as Measure M, from SB1, which you might have been reading in the news. And so there is a good chunk of our money that comes from outside sources, from the state, from the county, from the feds. We as a city, unfortunately, don't have dedicated monies to fill in this $3 to $4 million so-called shortfall in the way we repair our roads. And if you will indulge me a little bit, Staff has graciously prepared a little diagram here. Just kind of briefly mention, why roads are such a difficult topic to address. I mean, what this graph here shows is that, whenever you fix a road that's brand new, you start with a condition that's excellent. And then gradually over time, as more and more cars drive on it, you get wear and tear. And so the condition of the road slowly deteriorates over time. And in between this lifetime of the road, it actually costs different monies to fix it. So if your road is in decent shape, what the city has done and proactively done is we've decided to put money in to preserve the roads, to keep them in good shape so that they don't fall into disrepair. And so that's why one of the most common questions I get is, why are you repairing the roads that look like they're in better shape and the roads in front of my house looks like it's in desperate need of repair? And part of it is actually counterintuitive, but it's actually a strategic way to address it. Is, for example, a road that is in relatively decent shape may cost the city roughly $1 per square yard to preserve it and lengthen its life by about 6 to 7 years. Whereas a road that's kind of in sort of between the fair condition, that might cost $2 to $3 per square yard to rehab. And so what we've done in the last couple of years is we've taken care of all the roads that are in the good to fair condition, and now we need to tackle the ones that are in poor condition, the ones that are in very shabby conditions. And these costs anywhere from 20 to 40 times per square yard than it takes to just preserve the roads. So for every block that we are able to preserve, we might not even come close to reconstructing and repaving roads that are in poor condition. So this is a monumental challenge that we have to face, is where do we get the money? How do we plan ahead for projects? Because we can't just let these roads sit in disrepair. And so when the pavement study is finished in July of this year, the council will have better direction on what monies we may need and how are we going to allocate those monies to address those questions. And that actually brings us to the end of the questions that we've received. Now, understandably, there may be some questions that you may have asked us that you might be thinking, well, why didn't he answer those questions? We didn't want to drag out the Facebook Live session for too long. This is our first session, and we've actually been going live for about 40 minutes now. But we will be getting back to you on those questions, whether it's at another Facebook Live session in the future, or I've actually talked with staff to directly answer these questions on Facebook, on Instagram, or other platforms that you have asked them to. So in conclusion, I do want to give a big shout out to our staff. You can't see them on the camera, but sitting with me is Tenny Chan and Kwa, who's our intern, our communications intern, Brian Haworth, our city manager, Brian Cook, who's done a tremendous job at putting a lot of this information together and really getting back to you guys. And please leave comments. Any feedback that you have is going to be important to us. Any type of constructive criticism we look forward to receiving, because we want to make sure that this type of session works for you. Is there a different format that you would like to see? Are there different specific topics you might want us to get more in detail instead of today we've kind of covered sort of almost everything possible that was being asked, but perhaps there's a very specific topic that we could spend a little bit more time getting into. And just as a preview, we have been in discussion to try to bring some of our youth committee members to participate on Facebook Live. So that's something that we hope you can look forward to, and that you will continue to follow us and get information directly from the city. We're here to serve you, whether it's through social media, if you want to come in person, call us. We need your feedback to make our decisions for the future. So thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great Memorial Day weekend and enjoy. Until next time, the mayor is out.